You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans, just love talking about the Pack. We are not getting into all the national media sports talking points, all the stuff they get distracted with. We're sticking to real football, diving into the top topics around the Pack every week, breaking down games during the season and sorting through all the drafts and dramas and rumors of the offseason. If y'all want to support this podcast, please spike that like button for us. Most importantly, hop on over to the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hit that little subscribe button for us. Tell a friend to do the same. It makes a massive difference. So all of our subscribers and listeners, you guys hanging out with us every Monday night at 9:30. Appreciate you. Love you. And let's have some fun tonight. We do have to talk about an ugly loss, and that is what it is. But we've also got something else on the other side of this is fun to talk about, which is a trip to Dallas, which has historically been pretty good for this team. So there's good, right? Like there's light on the other side of this dark loss that we have to deal with and like try to get the taste out of our mouth. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. Were they looking ahead? Did the Packers get caught looking ahead? I kind of think so. We'll find out. We're gonna dissect that a little bit. What's going on with the penalties? Do we have a Joe Barry 2.0 situation developing? Lots to talk about. I think there are a lot of things to talk about, or maybe these guys just had a bad day and they got to flush the film and move on. I don't know. But first, some business. The show is once again sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, all the other tickets you're going to need. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember, support those local Wisconsin businesses. And of course, if you're not in Wisconsin, your local businesses. Tim, sir, how are you handling the loss? Are you just chalking it up to a bad day? We're not worried about this. We're on to Dallas. Where are we at here, man?
Well, it sucked. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It was a bad performance.
It did that.
I mean, look, I think there's a lot to take out of it. It's not something you just flush away and like burn the film and never look at it. I don't believe that at all. There's things they need to get better at and need to correct from that game. But I feel better about it a day later than I did after it ended, for sure. And
I could agree.
We're on the next week, and big picture, it's 3 games into the season, and we were talking great about this team the last 2 weeks, and that was just 2 games. And kept making that point, like it's just 2 games, but man, they look so good. Well, we saw what could happen when they didn't look so good, and I think the other point is it's just 3 games. So at this point, I don't think we truly know what this team is. I don't think we truly know what any team really is in the NFL yet. It's 3 of 7.
Can't.
Yeah, it's 3 of 17 games. So there's things that we're seeing with the team that'll probably be good all season, we hope. And then there's some things that really popped up against Cleveland that you're hoping they can correct really fast, or else there are going to be problems. But big picture, good teams lose games like this. I mean, the Eagles last year lost, I think it was week 2 or week 3, they lost to the Falcons, who weren't a good team, right? Kirk Cousins had maybe his best game of last season before he got benched. Beat the Eagles. Nobody remembers that. Nobody cares because they won the Super Bowl. And you can go back to 2010 when the Packers won their last Super Bowl. They lost to a bad Miami team. They lost to a bad Washington team, right? They lost to the Lions late in the year. In December, they scored, I think it was 10-3. They scored 3 points. They lost to some bad teams, but who cares? They won. So it happens. But you see, like, if you don't bring your game every week, if you're lacking, you can get beat by anybody. And Cleveland, we talked about last week, they had a really good defense, and I felt like it was going to be tough going for a while. I thought the Packers would end up winning and figuring some things out in the second half and being able to do enough. But I thought there was going to be a lot of ugly football, and it was, and they obviously didn't get it done. That was a really good pass rush, a really good job by the Cleveland defense, and Packers weren't up to it, and they made plenty of mistakes to give that game away. But overall, I don't think there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to fire anybody or just overreact to all this. It's one game, and we're only 3 games into the season. We don't know what any of these teams are going to be yet. So, yeah, it's a bad loss. It's an ugly loss. But it happens. Now you have to go about correcting it and getting better. And maybe by the end of the year, this is like one of those games like, man, can you believe they lost to Cleveland? But who cares? Because look how far we got anyway,
That's how I feel about it. I don't feel like this is going to be one of those you look back and you go, oh, man, see, this was the beginning of the end or something like that. I have a mosquito that is like,
got him. There you go.
Not today. He's a Bears fan. He's trying to ruin our podcast. I'd be
the Packers offense needed that execution.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, spot the problem, execute, move. There we go.
No, you squished them like the Browns pass rush squished Jordan Love the whole time.
I mean, they did. And here's how I feel about it. It's at the end of the day, I feel like this is a dud, right? This is a dud. You're going to learn from it. We've seen these in the LaFleur era. They've oftentimes come at the first game of the season, and then the next game they bounce back. So I'm not ready to let's just burn things down and trade LaFleur and Jordan's not the guy. Like no. We're not there. The reason I think they looked ahead to Dallas is because, and the chat is picking up on this too, the play calling was atrocious. The first 2 weeks we saw some very nice play calling. It wasn't A+, it wasn't 100 overall, but it was good. He was using motion to test man and zone. There was some design, some things that were, concepts being set up to do other things. It was effective. This felt like a mailed in game plan. This felt like a let's just kind of wing it game plan. Let's get an extra day on Dallas. Now, I'm not accusing anybody because that would be blasphemous to assume, and LaFleur came out and basically said as much, that you would look ahead beyond this week and the goal is always to go 1-0. And I think a lot of people thought that was directed at Rasheed Walker's comments. And probably. I don't know if that's 100% where that was directed, though. Like, I feel like that might have been a communication to some guys that may have gotten caught looking ahead to Dallas a little bit. Just, again, possibilities, right? People are humans. Humans are prone to do certain things, and, no one's perfect. Nobody's a machine and just on repeat and never making a mistake and never kind of, trying to do that kind of thing. So like, it's always a possibility, but that's what it felt like to me. The defense, I thought, held up their end of the deal. Could they have been better? Yes. You want more sacks for sure. I'm disappointed they didn't score. Like, I wanted to see the defense score in this game. I thought they definitely had the potential to do that. But yeah, I thought that they definitely held up their end of the deal, though, even giving up the 13 points, which the one touchdown was BS. Shouldn't have happened with that interception. So yeah, this is squarely on the offense for me. The special teams sharing that. Excuse me. Yeah. I shouldn't put it squarely on. But we're gonna get to the special teams. I got a whole thought for the special teams and Mr. Bisaccia and all the whatever the hell's going on there. But at the end of the day, the offense didn't get it done. And there's just no reason for it. It's a good defense for sure, but you have the players to counteract a defense like that. And I'll say this, and I said this last year about the Eagles after we played them in Brazil, that might be the best defense the Packers play the rest of the season. It really might. That defense is good. They're very good. Their D-line is elite. Mason Graham, totally underestimated him. They've got some players out there, man. So I will give them that. And at the very least, I think that's probably the best D-line you're going to see the rest of the season. So, do they play the Eagles?
They play the Eagles. So.
They play the Eagles. Okay, so outside of the Eagles. Yeah. Let's not get crazy here. guess, you got to give respect where respect is due. But yeah, I mean, like that was a real tough challenge, and more so than what they've seen so far. And it's not to say that the Lions and the Commanders don't have good D lines or good defenses, but that was a different level. I mean, the level of disruption they were able to cause is just constant. And granted, the Packers' offensive line was banged up and not playing well anyway. That's where I kind of feel like I kind of look back at the game plan and go, you guys know the pieces you got to work with. Man, there's so many directions we go with this. I don't know who cleared Zach Tom. Like, how does a historically conservative medical team let that guy play? With that, like, we'll just box that up and set that to the side. But yeah, I mean, the way that I'm seeing this is it just felt like a terrible game plan. It felt like lack of effort in a game plan. And if you know what you've got, you've got a challenge ahead, then compensate for that. Chip more, do more to help those guys, and have less developing, stuff. Like you can't have stuff that's going to take too long to develop. You can't have shots 20 yards down the field all the time, because that's when Jordan Love is going to get disrupted, because these guys are coming through. I mean, we talked about it last week. How do you beat this Packers team? We kind of did the inverse segment, and my answer was you have to shorten the amount of time Jordan Love has to make a decision, because then you negate the athletic advantage that they have. And we saw it on the one Matthew Golden catch there in the fourth quarter, where everybody thought maybe he should have taken it to the house, and his momentum was just carrying him out of bounds. Yeah, it looked like he could have, in hindsight, but even live, there was no way he was sticking his foot in the ground and straightening that out. But you could see how much separation he had. I mean, he had torched those guys, and you've got to find ways to exploit that. You've got to maybe give Jordan some rollouts where he can reset the pocket like Aaron Rodgers used to do to buy time in those situations. There's got to be an answer, and they didn't have one. And that's the part that disappoints me. It's like, you guys showed some offensive brilliance the first 2 weeks. You looked good. You looked methodical. You looked like you were going to be a tough machine to stop that was still not even reaching its full potential. And then you come in here and look like you don't even know what the heck you're doing. And that's just like, I don't understand how that happens, except not being focused and looking ahead. And I think that's where LaFleur was coming from in his press conference. That's my opinion. That is my opinion, my commentary on that. I don't know. Am I out of line, Tim?
I don't think you're out of line. I think there might have been some of that. I think it was, my own feeling is it wasn't necessarily looking ahead to Dallas. It was more so like they were seeing how good everybody was talking about them. And everybody was hyping up the Packers after the first two games because they were big-time games, big audiences, prior playoff teams from last season, and the Packers looked really good and won both games convincingly. And there was a lot of talk about the Packers are the best team in football. They're a Super Bowl contender, and this is coming after they made the huge trade for Micah Parsons, which shook up the league. So I think some players on that team might have been feeling themselves and thinking how good they are. And Rasheed Walker's comments about potentially going undefeated it was stupid. You don't say that, and that's something that doesn't happen, and that shouldn't be something that you really talk about. Yeah, you want to win every week, but your focus should be on that week. So yeah, I think there might have been some players that were really feeling themselves, feeling how good they thought they were as a team, and they got punched in the mouth and they lost the game. So now you can stop talking about going undefeated, and hopefully that focuses them and sends a message that you need to focus each week. And don't worry about where you may be in January. Like, just worry about where you are that week and winning that game. So, yeah, there's that played into it. And I think, to me, the number one factor in why they lost the game is their offensive line got their ass kicked. And it didn't help that you lose two starters in the first half. I mean, you lose one starter in the first play. How the hell Zach Tom could be allowed to suit up for that game, I'll never understand.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
I don't know.
They're so conservative all the time. I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't know if that was he practiced, which was surprising to me that he was even practicing. But I don't know if he went to them and wasn't truthful and said he felt better than he really did. Who knows? But that was a mistake. And then you lose Banks, who wasn't playing good anyhow, so I don't think it would have mattered that much. But you lose another starter, so now you got to move Jordan Morgan from right tackle to left guard. You're playing musical chairs. And they were terrible. There wasn't an offensive lineman that played well. Every one of them was bad yesterday, and it wasn't just Miles Garrett; it was everybody up and down that line.
Yeah, that
And
line dominated.
LaFleur talked all week, and the guys, the Fox guys doing the game, he talked to them about how much he was game planning for Miles Garrett. How much he was the focus, and that's great, and he should be. But it was almost like, were they a little too scared of him, or did they ignore the other guys, or could they not adjust? Like, he should have been the focus, but the rest of the defensive line ripped them apart.
Yeah.
So it was just poor. That was number one. And then when you factor in the game plan, the play calling was not good. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass protect. The receivers apparently weren't getting open very much. I mean, there were times Jordan Love had time to throw, he was still holding the ball and not getting it out very often to his first read. And then I think Jordan he was doing a good job avoiding turnovers. But then the second half, he has the terrible interception. He took the sack at the end of the third quarter I know LaFleur took the blame for it today in his press conference, but I have no idea what the hell was going on as the time's running out. You don't have to snap the ball. It's third down, and it looked like they're coming up to the line of scrimmage. They're just going to try to get the Browns to jump off sides and get a free first down, but let the clock run out and go to the fourth quarter. And for whatever reason, they hurried up and got the snap off. Everything looked like chaotic. I don't know if that was a Jordan call where he saw coverage and said, "You know what, we want to snap this ball. Let's go." And then instead of just throwing it away, he takes a hit and takes a sack. Now he threw it away, you're punting anyway, but he didn't need to take that sack there. But that whole sequence was just mind-boggling that it happened, and he just didn't go to the fourth quarter. Now, did that have a huge effect on the game? No, but it was just one of those moments where you're like, what are they doing here? The interception was terrible. And we can sit here and say, well, they could have ran the ball and made Cleveland use a timeout. They could have ran this play or that play or whatever. And I'll agree with that. I think they should have probably rolled him out or bootleg something to give him the option to use his legs or to just get down if it wasn't open and keep the clock running. But he made a terrible decision and a terrible throw. And you can't have that in the fourth quarter of the game when you're up 10-3. And it's, it screwed your defense. It was an easy touchdown for the Browns. You can't have your quarterback make mistakes like that. And then they even get down there and have a chance to win the game somehow. And then special teams comes and they shit the bed too with the blocked field goal. So so many things contributed to it, but to me, it starts with how badly their offensive line played. And that's the real eye-opener. Yes, Cleveland's very good, and you're not going to see Miles Garrett every week. And their defensive front, their whole defense looks really good. But your offensive line, you've invested a lot in that offensive line. There's a lot of money, free agency, guys you've re-signed, second contracts, draft picks, and they all underperformed. So that's something you're going to have to figure out. And hopefully you can get guys healthy. I hope Zach Tom's not playing this week because he's not healthy. Get him healthy.
I think we could probably just count him out.
I hope they learn their lesson and
just let him get healthy.
And Banks isn't healthy either and hasn't played well when he has been. Let him get healthy. But hopefully at some point they can get their five out there. It may be one of those seasons where we never see their true starting five. But
it seems like that's increasingly rare in today's NFL.
It is, but now you got to develop the other guys. And they're not going to play a Cleveland defensive line every week, but you're going to run into some teams like this that have a good defense and can get after you with the pass rush. You got to do a whole lot better than they did, and that could be their downfall is that they get overrun up front. They haven't been good run blocking through 3 games, and now pass protection was pretty damn good the first 2 games, and then it was horrible. It's Cleveland, so that to me is where it all started, is how bad they got whooped up front on offense, and then everything else kind of just was the waterfall off of that, all the other mistakes.
Yeah, and that tends to be how it happens, right? Like things can snowball pretty quickly. It's a game of momentum. That's where I just believe that I don't think they had a good game plan. And this is also the time of year where you're going to see a lot of unscouted looks. We've talked about that. In every game you get, there's more film, so there's less unscouted looks that you're going to see. So maybe the Browns came out and gave them a whole bunch of stuff they didn't expect. That's a very real possibility. But I'm seeing some people called this out in the chat too, but the play calling seems to be a problem at times. Like I've called LaFleur out before for emotional play calling. He, there's times that they'll get down and it's just, rocket ball after rocket ball. And it's like, dude, just develop a concept, please. We need to get momentum, completions, get a first down, then maybe take a shot. And now on the other side of it, when he's got a lead in a close game, he just completely falls apart. And he even took the blame for the play call on the interception. And
I don't think that's
regardless of whose fault it is. I think one thing that we probably took for granted a little bit more than we think as Packers fans was Aaron Rodgers calling plays in those crunch time drives. He's on the field. He's the chess master already playing anyway. He doesn't need, a scripted thing. He doesn't need, this side of the playbook or that section of the playbook or these landmark plays or anything like that. He's drawing stuff up in the dirt. He's going, here's the defense that I've seen in front of me. I see a vulnerability that they're going to give me. Here's how I'm going to take advantage of that. And he just did that. And you hear stories about that time and time again. I was listening to Randall Cobb on Johnny Manziel's podcast. Great listen. You guys should check it out if you got some time. And he told stories about that. I mean, obviously there was the Jared Cook one in Dallas in 2016. But Randall Cobb said he would do that all the time. And it's just like, man, you have no idea how valuable that is because play calling is that important. And I don't think Jordan Love is at the point in his career where he's pushing back on LaFleur in those situations going, hey, coach, look, I hear you, but here's what I'm seeing from the defense and here's how I need to take advantage of that. Now, maybe he is on the sideline. Maybe there's that. I hope that dialogue is happening. But I think in those like real crunch situations where it's like, shoot, what do you call? What do you do? What do you call? I think LaFleur really fumbles. I think he really, and I don't want to say like he shrinks in crunch time, but like just in those situations, we're seeing more often that he's or something's happening, something's breaking down. You're not seeing the success rate and kind of the level of confidence that you used to see in the Packers offense when there's a minute left. Rodgers got the ball and you just need to go down the field to score, man. Like it was automatic, and at the very least, you're going to get down the field some. Like maybe you get stalled out, maybe something happens, but you were never going to just go 3 and out in those situations. It just wasn't going to happen. And, certainly didn't expect A-Rod to throw an interception in the game. I think that's the next step for Jordan Love. And I think this is the season where we should start seeing that. It's his 3rd season as the starter. He's been in the same offense now for years, even before he was a starter. He should mentally be comfortable enough to say, look, coach, I see what's in front of me. I remember this thing from the playbook. We should do this to take advantage of that. Or not even go that far. Just say, coach, I got it. Stop talking. I got it. Get out of my helmet and I'm going to draw this thing up in the huddle and we're going to go and we're going to get this thing. I think you have to be able to get to that level as a quarterback in the NFL to be an elite quarterback, right? And we've talked about the chess match before with quarterbacks, but I think like where Jordan Love has to get to next is that. Otherwise, he's going to, and we could, fire some shots. He'll probably stay locked in that more Dak Prescott type of zone where, yes, he's talented. Yes, he has the ability and you see it at times. But when you need him to be the man, he just doesn't have it, and I don't think that's who Jordan Love is. I didn't think that's who Dak Prescott was, to be fair, but that is who Dak Prescott is, unfortunately. Poor guy just could not even beat the Bears. But Jordan Love, I think, is capable of that. I think it's just more of like a personal relationship thing with him and LaFleur where he's got to have that confidence to tell his boss, listen, boss, I got it. And I just don't know if he's there. I hope he is.
I don't think he is. And I'm not comfortable with him having more command at this point because there's still those 2 to 3 plays every game where you sit there and go, what the hell was he thinking? And he's got to eliminate that.
Yeah.
And like yesterday against Cleveland, he didn't play a great game. He was, but he avoided the turnovers up until he threw a terrible interception. And like you can't have, like you didn't need him to win the game for you. Your defense was doing that,
True.
but just avoid that mistake. And maybe they punt it back to Cleveland. Maybe Cleveland goes down and scores. And anyway, I don't think they do, but maybe. But then he did have a chance, and he got them in field goal range. Yes, there was a pass interference call, which wasn't really, Jordan doing anything, and he completed one to Kraft, which was a nice little play call completion. But they were down there in field goal range, and if they execute, they win the game. And Jordan Love has a game-winning drive, right?
Yeah.
So, but you need him, yeah, but I think you need him to be more consistent. And yeah, in some of these moments, like we saw it in San Francisco in the playoff game in 2023. We saw it in Philly last year. Like you just got to be smarter with the football at times, and sometimes you got to raise your team up when they really need you. And yesterday it wasn't the team; it was the offense really needed him. Like go out there and get your team the victory, or at least don't cost them. And he cost them 7 points by throwing a terrible pick. So like, there's more there for him, and I hope he's capable of it, but I don't know. There's so many flashes of it to show that, yeah, he can be one of those upper echelon quarterbacks, but it's just there's 2 or 3 plays every game that hold him back, or you're like, what was that? Just bad mistakes. You can't have that. So, and he was dealing with an all-out pass rush. He had no time to throw. No Jaden Reed, obviously no Watson still. So he was shorthanded, and they can't run the ball. So, it's a lot, but you can't throw that pick. And I think that's one of those plays. Like you got to find a way to, if it's not there, just eat it.
Yeah.
Terrible decision and terrible throw.
So the way that I would counter that, I guess maybe in a defensive position of Jordan Love, and this is just possibilities, right? I don't know. But if we take them at their word, where it's like, oh yeah, that was a bad play call on me, LaFleur, my bad. I could see in the moment, because it's not like there's no pressure, right? It's not like you don't have thousands of fans around you screaming, the best athletes in the world in front of you trying to kill you. I mean, and things are happening fast. So you've got to respect. It's like, okay, we'll take some time to process. If you're Jordan Love and you're thinking, okay, here's what we got to do here, and then coach gives you a play that you don't think is going to work, all of a sudden you're going, oh shoot, what do I do with this? This is not going to work. This is not good. And you don't feel like you have the command to say, man, if I just get into this, we'll be good. Then that's where I think it breaks down. And I'm not necessarily arguing for Jordan Love to have, or I should say, to be given the command that Rodgers was given. Rodgers certainly earned that over time too, right? I mean, there's no coach that's going to just like give Rodgers the thumbs up to go draw something in the dirt in a playoff game at the end. You know what I mean? Like he took some of that authority and it worked. So they went with it. If it doesn't work, he's going to get lambasted. But that's how you do that. Like you have to eventually get that level of comfortability where you're like, look, again, like I know what I see in front of me. I know the playbook enough to know what's going to work and beat what I see in front of me. I got to get into that no matter what. And if you don't have much time to get the bad call, and you're knocked off, you're like, shoot, I don't know what to do here. I could tell coach, maybe I'll just go with it. Like it's real quick. You got to make that decision, because if you're going to make a change, you're going to call an audible. You better get everybody in position quick, because then you are cooked if you don't get it done in time. You get delay a game or you get some other penalty. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of processing that has to happen in there. And I don't know, like that has to come from repetition. So I don't know that Jordan Love, as much reps as he's had as a starter for the Packers, I don't know if he's had enough of those crunch time reps to really be comfortable with, like, here's what I'm going to do in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, I think he knows what to do in the situation, but I don't know, like, to truly be comfortable with, like, making a change on the fly in a situation like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I can definitely see that. And I think,
But that would just potential counterpoint and defense of Jordan Love in the situation where if you've taken them at face value and what they say that was a bad play call, that's how I could see him kind of sort of getting flustered into making an even worse mistake.
and it was,
but yeah, and I'm not sitting here. I can't tell you for sure that Jordan's ready to do that. I hope he is, right? Like I hope that that's where he is in his game. And that he's ready to make take that kind of command, but he has to do it, right? I don't think it's something he's going to be given. You have to take it. So we'll see. That's a tough game. They got popped in the mouth. It's early in the season. It's inconsequential within the division and the conference, so there's a lot of reasons there that you can look at this and go, fine, flush it and let's move on. Let's look at Dallas. Still just shouldn't have happened.
It shouldn't. And my question to you, we can move on from the offense after this if you want to, but what do you do with the offensive line now? Assuming no Banks, no Tom going into Dallas. Who's playing where? And should we have any confidence? I mean, they're not seeing the pass rush in Dallas, obviously, like Cleveland has, but you still got to play better. So
yeah,
where are you lining the guys up at? Who do you trust?
You know what? In seasons like this, if you're going to be a championship team, you almost have to challenge the guys back that made the mistake. So like Rasheed Walker almost needs an opportunity to go back and redeem himself. Elgin Jenkins having a bad game. It's like, what are you going to do? Take him out? No, you got to get him in. He'll bounce back. He's not going to have another bad game. So I think in one instance, you have to stabilize by not doing things, right? Like do less in this situation. I don't think the ship's on fire and you're like, look, we've tried everything and nothing's worked. So we've just got to pull all the plugs, whatever. I think in the situation, leadership needs to be the stabilizing force. So you need to get, the coaches need to get in front of their guys, whoever's healthy, whoever's playing, whoever it is. And, you need to restore a vote of confidence in the guys up front, your starters and the ones that just had a bad game. And then you need to instill the next man up mentality in whoever is going to step in the gaps that are there now. The ones we know for sure are Zach Tom. We'll assume that he's out. I don't think he's coming back this week. He shouldn't. And Banks, right? So your left guard, your right tackle. So Jordan Morgan just had probably the worst game you could have. Do you bench him? I mean, he started off not bad. Again, I think this is one of those times where it's like you stabilize, you don't go shaking people up by firing people in a sense and benching them, but you go like, look, these are our guys. Get it together and get ready to play this game. Like I think that's as simple as that. And then if it doesn't work after this week, then you got to start, shaking things up and maybe going a little bit more like, all right, you're out, you're sitting, next man up. They're going to go sign somebody. They're going to go trade for somebody. I think at that point in Goot, we trust. And I don't think Goot is a very patient man right now. I don't think a patient man makes a trade for Micah Parsons. We'll say that.
Yeah, he's probably not. And you brought up Morgan. Morgan was awful. But in his defense, he's playing right tackle. He hasn't played right tackle. That was one of the spots that he hasn't played. Who knows how many reps he got there during the week? I would think they were repping him there and, thinking Zach Tom's probably not going to play, or at least he was iffy. But then probably by the end of the week, they had to have known by Friday that Tom was going to give it a go, I would think. Definitely by Saturday. But I would think by Friday they knew Tom was going to give it a go. So how many reps did Morgan really get at right tackle? And that was probably the first time he was taking right tackle snaps. We've seen him at both guard spots and left tackle, but he hasn't been a right tackle. That's tough.
It really, truly is tough. Like it seems maybe like, no, man, just it's the same thing. No, it's really not the same thing. And
going against that defense.
Going against some of the best in the league. If not, you can call Myles Garrett the best in the league right now. Yeah. It's just not a recipe for success. That's where I was a little bit more disappointed in the game plan than anything else. Like, don't get me wrong. The offensive line stunk. They got to be better than that. But the coaches have to build a game plan around what they have, not what they wish they had.
And then Morgan, second half he's got to flip to left guard, and he wasn't good there either. But like that's a big change in game.
Yeah.
So, and I think LaFleur was asked this and kind of alluded to it today on Friday or on Monday, and was agreeing with it. Was that like maybe he's spread too thin? Like maybe he's playing too many positions for a second-year guy. Who I saw pointed out he's still only played 9 games because of his injury.
Right.
So like maybe he is spread too thin. So maybe you got to focus on just like 2 positions for him. So I would think going into Dallas, he's going to be their left guard, and then it'll be Belton at right tackle with maybe Kennard rotating in. Kennard looked fine. Like I thought he looked fine. I would be fine with him starting, but they seem to like Belton more and have Belton ahead of him. Okay, but have a quick pull on that if Belton's struggling and go to Kennard. But that's the way I would go with Morgan at left guard and Belton at right tackle. But the Morgan problem, yeah, he's got to play better. The penalties were bad, and he's getting beat way too much. But it seems like when he looked his best was in training camp in the preseason. He was just playing left tackle, and he said that's where he wants to play. That's where he's most comfortable. And I know like he's not taking Rasheed Walker's job right now. If Rasheed Walker keeps playing the way he did on Sunday, he might be. But you need to dial it back a little bit and maybe just keep him on the left side. So you're going to be our left guard or left tackle. And right side, you got to figure it out with, Kennard and Belton behind Brian and Tom when they're healthy. Because I think playing him at 4 positions, Morgan at 4 different positions, it really could be affecting him and affecting his development.
Totally agree. I mean, it's you guys, you got to, apply it to your job, like if you're going to do 4 different jobs or 4 different positions, can you do each one of them? Sure. And some are less natural than others, and doing them all at once is going to make you worse at all of them than you would be if you focused on 1 or 2. It's a very natural explanation for things, and I don't think it's far off. And again, you can't understate how good that Browns defensive line is. Like you drew the best dude in the league at your worst position, and you've got very little preparation for it. That's just not a good recipe, So I don't think it's responsible to hit the panic button on the O-line if you're the coaching staff after this performance. But I mean, you don't just go in there and give them a pass. I mean, you got to get after guys for the dumb mistakes that they made and let them know, like, guys, this is just flat out unacceptable. Be better. But, you also come in with a better game plan, and, you say that you don't come in with Zach Tom, and you're not going to lose him on the first play. Okay, cool. If you can at least have some continuity with the guys on the first couple drives, I think that'll be an improvement over what you just saw, regardless of who it is. But you still have depth. Like you mentioned, like, all right, let's get Morgan back at a spot that he's a little bit more comfortable with. Let's put Belton out there at right tackle. He's been all right. He's proven he can play there. He's not going to be perfect. He's going to make mistakes, but he's not going to get totally outmatched. Especially, I don't think against the Cowboys defense. I don't see anybody there that's just going to be a total nightmare. They've got some players. And Solomon Thomas was playing well. It looked like, they've got some players, but I think the assignment is a little bit more manageable than what you just had in Cleveland. So I kind of look at it that way, like stabilize this thing, get your guys right. And again, let the expectation be next man up and get after it. Whoever's in there needs to get their assignments right. Maybe you get beat, fine. But if you're getting beat, we'll compensate with, chips and protections in other directions, stuff like that, run away from the play. That was the thing that I was disappointed in. They didn't run away from Myles Garrett nearly enough. They thought they could just handle him. It's like, no, guys, let's acknowledge who you're going against here. So yeah, that's where I'd be at with it, as far as what to do with the O-line goes.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they can just get guys settled down in one spot, that might help a little bit. And hopefully get through a game without anybody else getting injured. So maybe there's some continuity there, but it's got to get a lot better. And they were all terrible, so they should have all their attention all week in the meeting rooms and on the practice field about how much they need to get better. So hopefully it's a wake-up call and they're really dialed in this week. But yeah, it can't continue. obviously. And even when Banks hasn't played well, so even when he gets back, he needs to pick it up. And you got
So
to get
who do we think is to blame for all of these penalties?
for the team or just for the line?
I mean, it's got for the team because I think that there's a lack of discipline as far as leadership goes on this topic.
Yeah, it's not a one-game problem because they've had the penalties. The first 2 games they took too many penalties.
Right. No, it's not a one. I mean, this has been a problem for a while, I mean, even going back into prior seasons.
Yeah, and I think the last 2 seasons you could blame it on they're young, they're inexperienced. That don't fly with me anymore. Like, yeah, they're still the youngest team in the league, but they're the youngest team that they've been playing. Like, they've had plenty of reps.
Lots of reps.
Inexperience. I don't want to hear that
anymore.
No. So what is it? I mean, the pre-snap ones to me, that's on the players. If you're false starting, if you're lining up in the neutral zone, or Micah Parsons is jumping off, like, you need to know better. Like, that's a focus thing. That's on the player. I don't know how, if
it's a focus thing. I mean, it should be a philosophy on the team of like, we're not going to make these mistakes.
And I think offensively, especially yesterday, they were getting the play calls in way too late, out of the huddle way too late. There were too many times where the play clock was winding down. I don't know if they were substituting too much. I don't know if they just were so consumed with the matchup with Garrett. I don't know what it was, but they needed more time to break the huddle. So it kind of feels like they're rushed, or maybe they're just off, and the lineman's anticipating the snap quicker. They're just jumping. I don't know. That the pre-snap ones though, that to me that's on the player, but you got to coach it out of them as well. Like, I'm not taking the blame completely away from the coaches. And the rest of them, like, yeah, there's some here and there that you can argue like shouldn't be penalties, but they are. And we see them recurring year after year on special teams.
Right.
Like, what's the problem? It can't happen. And some of it's just like, if you see the guys, you see the back of their jersey, don't block them. Like, I don't even know why a player should have to be told that, but they make that mistake. I think Romeo Dobbs did it on the.
I saw him do it. So, I immediately saw it when he did it, and I was like, "There's a flag."
Right. Like, it's just stupid. Like, that's basics. Like, I can't blame a coach for that. Like, you know better. You should know better when you started playing Pop Warner. But the recurring issues, and I don't think it's even so much defense. We did see them take some penalties yesterday, but it's special teams and it's offense. And offense seems to be it's the line. And I think yesterday was just an ass whooping, and it played into it. And they were just so out of sync in every phase. Special teams. This is a recurring issue, and it's not just Bisaccia. It goes back a generation of special teams coaches, but it's year after year of this stuff. It's almost like they can't have a return without holding somebody or blocking somebody in the back.
Or it's like we have a
Joe, and
we have another Joe Barry.
And what's frustrating is, for years and under Ted, and even the early part with Goody, like, they weren't really investing special teams players on the team, right? Like, you had your 3 specialists, the snapper, the punter, the kicker, and then like the linebackers would play special teams, but they weren't really special teams guys. Well, over the years they've changed that. And you have Zane Anderson, and you have the Neiman dude that they picked up off waivers, and previous to that it was Eric Wilson, and Welch is on the practice squad, not for a linebacker to be a special teams guy if he ever gets called up. Like, they've invested players to be special teams guys. Bo Melton's more of a special teams guy,
and they have starters playing on special teams.
And McKinney's playing on some special teams units. So they've invested more. They've invested with Bisaccia's contract. He's the highest paid, or one of the highest paid special teams coaches. And you're still having recurring problems. I don't think it was yesterday's performance wasn't bad until the block kick. But it was the fact that, like, Larry McCarron's calling the game on the radio, apparently. He saw after the first field goal, it was nearly blocked. He brought it up. And then the next field goal was blocked. What happens? And I mentioned this last week when Reed went out. The problems with punt return. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Like, I love Matthew Golden, or what Matthew Golden could be. he's not ready to be an NFL punt returner. He may never be. Some of his decisions on when to catch the ball, when to let it bounce. He let one bounce yesterday that rolled to the 2-yard line. He shouldn't have done. Then when he lets
Got a
him
fair
bounce,
catch that.
yeah, when he does let him bounce, sometimes there's way too many guys around the football. One of these times it's going to bounce and hit.
It's going to
somebody,
pop.
and it's going to be a turnover.
Yep.
Keyshawn Nixon, when they put him back there, he catches the ball, but every time he wants to return it, and it's dangerous. It's a disaster waiting to happen on punt returns. And they have a guy who's on the practice squad, McCall Hardman, who's there to be a punt returner. He's not going to play receiver for you. And I know he screwed up 2 plays in the first preseason game. Can't have that. But he's also a guy that has a lot of experience in the NFL as a punt returner. Maybe he made those mistakes in the preseason because he's trying to make the team and make an impression and all that. Matthew Golden's a rookie. He shouldn't be back there when you have the ability to bring up Hardman from the practice squad and let him take his chances. Like, I'd rather take my chances. And if McCall Hardman screws up and makes mistakes, then you cut him. He's a practice guy.
Yeah.
But I'd rather take my chances with a guy who's experienced, who's done it throughout his career, than a rookie. Why they're not doing that, I have no idea. Is it Goody not wanting to elevate him? I don't see why he wouldn't if Bisaccia wanted him to be the punt returner. So that's got to be a Bisaccia and LaFleur call. For some reason, they want to stick with Golden back there. Okay, I hope he busts one, and I hope I look stupid. He's a great punt returner. So far, it's not happening. And like, it's stuff like that where it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
And the penalties, I don't have a good answer other than it continues to happen. And I don't know about you, but every time they have a return, I just wait for the flag. And it's amazing when they have a decent return and there's not a flag, because I think, well, something's wrong. Like,
they just missed it. It just didn't get the team.
I don't know. They invest. They're investing on special teams players, and it's still happening. And they're paying a lot of money to Bisaccia for the same issues.
Well, there's reports that everybody in the locker room thinks he's a really nice guy. They like to talk to him. You know.
Then make him like, the security guy or something, or, the librarian.
Yeah, he can be like a special
buddy.
advisor or something. Can we get a real special teams coach in here, though?
He can be the locker room buddy. He can go around talking to everybody.
Yeah, you can create the position for him. He can be the top paid locker room buddy in the league. I don't care. What I get irritated about, though, is this idea that it's like a good thing that he's the buddy. And it's like, no, listen, guys, I was under the impression that he's supposed to be kind of part of the leadership influence, right? Like, he's supposed to sort of be mentoring the young Matt LaFleur and, that kind of things, like an advisor for him and all that. And it's like, but if that's true, then he's setting the leadership tone that's leading to all of these mistakes being repeated over and over and over and over again, which is not good at all. That's not good leadership at all. And, again, like, we see this as soon as I heard that everybody thinks he's a nice guy, I'm going, oh God, get him out of here. Get him out. Because listen, as nice as Joe Barry was, he was a terrible defensive coordinator. And now we see that because we see what a good defensive coordinator looks like. We haven't seen what a good special teams coordinator looks like in Green Bay. I don't remember when. I don't know. I don't have an example to point to. Yeah, 96. There we go. So that's why I'm like, look, LaFleur, you proved you could do it with Hafley. Go find somebody. I mean, go. And this is his Achilles heel, man. He's got to be aware that there's an issue here. And he's not willing to address it because he likes this guy. And I'm just really sick of that.
It's like they can't – there's always a problem. They found a good punter. Cool. So we fixed that issue. They found a kicker, I think, but, his kick was a little low too on the one that was blocked. But we think we have a kicker. Cool, that problem solved. But we don't have return guys, and we still have penalties.
Well,
constantly.
But hang on.
So
Hold on.
We have block kicks. So it's like we're plugging like 1 or 2 holes, but then there's like 5 other holes, right? Like, so it's that. Even when you say we don't have return guys, this is where I go back to when Joe Barry was around. We would say we didn't have good players. Like, no. We do have good players. That's part of the problem here is we know we got good players. This coach is doing nothing with them.
And that's where I'm not
Could
even
be.
inclined to believe that we don't have returners, because Keyshawn Nixon was an all-pro returner for a while, and we've seen him make some pretty good plays and pretty good decisions. You've got talent. McCole Hardman has been a good returner, and for some reason you don't even think you need to use him. And Matthew Golden's a hell of an athlete, maybe probably the fastest guy on the field in most cases. You have guys to work with there, and you are not getting the best out of them. That is a coach failure. That is squarely on the coach. And a lot of people have been like, "Oh, why are we going after Bisaccia, the special teams? They were good here. They just had this mistake here." No. It's that you can't have a field goal block there. You just can't. And if McCarron's commentating on how the first one was almost blocked, there's very visibly an issue that you did not address. So, coach failure again. But this has been a pattern over several years now, and you just took us through it. Okay, before you could make the case, all right, maybe they didn't prioritize special teams players, so the guys like Mo Drayton had nothing to work with. Whatever. Maybe make those excuses. You don't have that now. You've been given not only Zane Anderson, but you've been given several guys that are special teams aces. Even Isaiah McDuffie has been a strong special teams player that they've kept around. Like, you've been given the guys, right? And they didn't even hang you out to dry with a bunch of nobody kickers. That you went through the kickers, you found a kicker. You went through the punters, you found a punter. Goot's making the efforts to solve the problems here. And that's where I'm looking squarely back at the coach going, dude, you have been given a lot of players and you have not done anything with them. And I'm sick of that. And that's why we can look back at the defensive line last year, and now we see what that looks like with a good D-line coach. We can look at, again, Joe Barry in general. This has been a pattern, and this is the next one. This is a dead-on Joe Barry 2.0 situation where you've got this guy, and I'm sure Bisaccia definitely deserves the respect that LaFleur had for him when he hired him. And not that he doesn't deserve respect now, but first of all, you can't pay him as the highest special teams coach in the league. That's not okay. Like, you got to be looking at that going, guy, your performance doesn't match. But second of all, you've got to be willing to make the decision if the performance isn't there. Like, you can't sit here and go, yeah, but the guys in the locker room like talking to him. So, and I can't see. I can't remember. R. Showers. Here we go. I know our comments has been going through, but R. Showers had the most appropriate one here. Ray Rhodes was a player favorite too. That went well. Like, it's not always a good thing to be a player favorite.
Yeah, and I don't think that means he's not hard on him, because I think he is hard on him. But he's a guy that communicates well. I'm not going to knock him for that. Keyshawn Nixon liked him going back to the Raiders, and Josh Jacobs and those guys came from the Raiders and loved him there, and they like him here. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I just think the performance of the units is like all you need to see. It's like, yeah, you get along and communicate with your players, and they like playing for you, and you're tough on them at times, but like, are you really holding them accountable? Because we still have the same issues. Or you plug
that's
one.
The thing. He's not, maybe he's good in some areas, but the consistent mistakes, it's like, dude, this is very clearly a weakness. You need to address this crap.
Right. You plug one problem, and there's 5 other ones that he can't plug. Like, I don't. The performance has been bad on special teams for years, and I mean throughout Bisaccia's tenure, it hasn't been good enough. Not for what they're expecting from him, what they're paying him, and what he was supposed to bring to the special teams. It's not good enough. And some areas, they have improved, but then there's other areas that consistently underperform. It's never come together. It's never come close to all coming together.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's like, players got to play better. They got to make fewer mistakes, but you've given him the resources, right? Savion Williams has shown some ability as a kick returner. Could he be better with better blocking in front of him? Yeah, he could be. Like, why are they not getting that?
You got athletes on athletes out there that are not being coached well. That's why.
And if you don't want to use Keyshawn on kickoff returns because he's the number one corner, okay, but you don't have to use him on everyone. But maybe there's a time in the game when you could put him back there, like yesterday.
Yeah. A close game, you don't have room for error. Yeah, put sure hands back there.
Not even sure hands on a kickoff. Like, he might break one just because he's done it in the past.
Well, sure,
he's more likely to break one than Williams.
Yeah.
So, like, why not get creative and do that? But it's just having block kicks, like, it just, in that situation, it shouldn't happen. And the repeated penalties drive me nuts. So, like, what's the issue here? Like,
Yeah,
if the
it's a
message is,
leadership thing. That's where my fingers pointed. It's a leadership problem, and it's not that you can't be an effective coach if and guys also like talking to you. I guess whatever they want to say about him, it's that's indicative of the fact that he's not holding these guys accountable. Right? You have a repeated problem. And all we hear is, yeah, but the guys like to talk to him. No, dude, like at this point, they shouldn't. You should be wearing them out. These guys should be afraid of you. Like that's the part where I'm looking at this going like, what are the repercussions for making these mistakes? You look at them in the film room, go, hey man, don't do that. Okay. Sorry, coach, won't do that again. Like you've got to have some internal drive to not make that mistake. These guys don't have that. They don't care. And I would have a tolerance. And here's another shout out to a good listen. Clay Matthews is out there now doing his thing with the Bustin' with the Boys guys, and he's got some good insight into some of his playing years. And one thing he talked about that he would do is he would give himself one offsides a game where he's just going to try to jump the snap. And sometimes he's right, and sometimes he's just going to be offsides. He's going to get yelled at. I could have a tolerance for that. What I don't have a tolerance for is 14 penalties against a not good team. Like, come on, man. Sure, their defense is good, but they're not that good. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be, peeing down your leg every play because you don't know that you can hold on to Myles Garrett. Like that, that's a mentality thing, man. Like that's where I point back to leadership. These guys should have a little bit more mental toughness instilled in them than that.
I think it just goes to show how badly they got whipped up front. That they had all those penalties and they couldn't pass blocking. Like they got overrun, and that's what happens sometimes. Like we saw it in the 2 games where Green Bay's pass rush was good. They were drawing penalties too, and they had a few that weren't called. Parsons getting held around the neck a few times and get called.
I sympathize with Cowboys fans. Parsons does get held every play. I got you.
It's
true.
It's gotta, team wide. It's got to be better. Specifically, special teams. It's got to be a lot better. Like you got to clean up the penalties. There's just LaFleur's got to be tougher. Versace has to be tougher. It has to be a focus. And if it is a focus, then you need to figure out, like, we're focusing on it. We're still having this issue. Like, what are we doing wrong?
That's where I would ask. Define focus. Like, what do you mean you're focusing on it? Like, obviously, nobody wants to commit penalties. Nobody wants to drop the ball either. But, if you're dropping the ball, you're going to go catch more balls in practice. You're going to get on the jugs machine. You're going to, whatever it is, you're going to practice distracted catching. You're going to do something. There's going to be an action. If your action over and over again with these flags is, hey man, don't do that, it's not working. At this point, like there should be some consequences, and maybe I'm sounding like an old fuddy-duddy, but like, man, like I would imagine guys would have to run and practice for this or do some sort of disciplinary thing for this kind of stuff. And I'm not talking about just push-ups at the end of practice because the other unit beat you. I'm talking about something that you don't want to do, man. Maybe it's something embarrassing, like something. There's got to be a deterrent where it's like, look, dude, I'm not going to be the one called for that. And then it's not going to be me. Like, I'm not getting called for holding. I'm not getting called for a false start. I might give up a sack. That might happen, but I'm not getting called for a penalty. That's not happening. And some of those are business decisions, right? Sometimes you got to hold to protect the life of your quarterback. Fair enough. Do that. But that's the thing, though, is there's a difference, right? That kind of goes in the category for me with Clay Matthews saying, I'm gonna take an offsides a game, just trying to jump the snap. Cool. All right. Well, if you get a holding call because you were trying to keep your quarterback from getting killed, totally cool. I'm with that. But that's not what's happening. These are just mistakes. They're mistakes and they feel like they're coming from a philosophical place of not being tough, which again, that's what bring this full circle. That's what frustrated me the most about this loss is it felt like even the players didn't have confidence in the game plan that they were asked to execute. That's what it looked like we were watching, and that's where I'm willing to hear that the interception by Love was a play calling issue, because honestly, that's what it looked like the whole game. It looked like those guys had no confidence in their ability to do what they were asked to do, and that's where you end up with even guys like Eldon Jenkins looking not good, just flat out not good, and it shouldn't happen. When you've got good players, this is what we're talking about with coaching. When you've got good players, you've seen them do it at a good level, and then they don't. That's where I look back and I go, Coach, did you put the player in position to be successful or not? And I feel like there is a lack of that. And not to say that these guys are total failures of coaches. There is degrees here, right? Like there's degrees of relativity. But right now, the expectation from us as Packers fans is elite. It's championship, right? Like you got Micah freaking Parsons, man. Like the front office went out and said, hey, this roster's ready. We stuck our neck out on the line. Like, let's go make this happen. Okay, well, part of that is discipline, dude. Are you kidding me? If you're going to be a championship team, you don't get 14 penalties. And that's just so here. I'll use. I hate bringing my own playing experience into it because I just played D3. But shout out to UWO because they beat a D2 team this last weekend. Shout out to lacrosse for also beating a D2 team this last weekend. And the WEAC for being the best conference in D3. Anyway, so when I was playing at Oshkosh, Whitewater and Mount Union were juggernauts. They were unstoppable. Those teams didn't make mistakes. It's not that they made a few. It's they did not make mistakes. They weren't the teams that come out and just pummel you like Dallas Carter from Friday Night Lights, where they just physically overpower you. Those teams were elite because they didn't make mistakes. And when you did, they pounced. You were not going to be able to recover from that. That's what a championship team plays like. That's why Packers fans are so frustrated right now, because we're looking at this going, damn, dude. Like, I mean, we kind of felt like Rasheed Walker, right? Like, hey, I don't see anybody stacking up and getting a win. We can say that as fans. He's not supposed to say that as a player. But I'm looking at this going, dude, like, if the front office said y'all are a championship team, y'all think you're a championship team. The coaches, I think you're a championship team. How are these mistakes acceptable for any of you? Whether you're a coach, a team leader, or even a backup at this point. Like, if you're a backup and some guy in front of you is making a bunch of mistakes, it should piss you off. It's like, wait, what do you mean? I'm not making all those mistakes. Because again, like, that's the mentality of like, we're just not going to do it. That's not going to happen. That's not part of the team and how championship teams operate. And that's I think the core of the frustration for you. I know I kind of have gotten long-winded on this rant here, so I apologize to him. But like that I think is the problem, and why people are more frustrated than maybe they should be after just one loss. Because it is a sign of something where it's like, hey, whoa. I thought we were talking championships. That was not championship. That was dog crap. That was not good. It just wasn't good. Defense, championship effort for sure. Everything else, just not. Play calling, coaches, preparation, all of it, just not good. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here because we're an hour into this thing. We still have to talk Cowboys. Holy shoot!
The only thing I'll say, and I'm not going to disagree with you, debate you on what you said, but for me, I think I was more frustrated by the fact that they made a ton of mistakes and they got whooped up front, but they still had a lead in the fourth quarter, and they should have won that game even with those mistakes. So yeah, like I could have accepted them playing ugly, poor football, but they come out of it with a win and we said, okay, they're 3-0. That's what matters. They got a lot to clean up, but they still lost when they had numerous opportunities to put that game away and win it. And that's what frustrated me more, is that you couldn't even overcome those mistakes against a team that, yeah, their defense played great, but they're not that good of a team. Their offense stinks. Yeah. And find a way to get that win. Like, you need to find a way, even when you play as poorly as that, to get a win, because we see teams that do that over the years. Like, the good teams will run into games like that. We're going to see it. Like, not every game, you don't win every game pretty. Even the teams that go to the Super Bowl, they don't win every game pretty. Go back and look at them year after
dogfight.
Look at the Chiefs last year. They were ugly all year. They won a lot of games though, because they found a way to overcome their mistakes and pull out close games. you're going to have to do that once in a while. You're going to have to grind out a game. And that was going to be a grind out game. And they were close to doing it, and they didn't. And that's what bothers me is that they just couldn't find a way to put that game away. But we're on the Dallas now. And
on to Dallas.
It's a new
done
week.
Talk about this crap. And we got some awesome people hanging with us. Doesn't matter if we're going over an hour. You guys don't care. We're hanging. We're having fun. And all right. So let's just jump straight into this part of it. Micah returning to Jerry World. Like, are we going to be disappointed, Tim? Or do you think that Micah is going to come in there with a chip on his shoulder and just ruin Dak's day?
Oh, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt. And I think he's going to have a really good game. I think Dak's going to continue to go out there firing, but he's going to be seeing Micah a lot. It didn't end well in Dallas. It got a little ugly. Maybe,
A little personal.
I've seen worse. I mean, it got real ugly with Favre. But it got personal. It got ugly. He hasn't talked a whole lot about Dallas since he came to Green Bay. He's got this one circle. It's down there in their stadium. Jerry's watching it. Yeah, he's got a chip on his shoulder for this one. This one's extra special for him. Whether he says that or not, going into it, this one's extra special. So he's going to be ready to go, and he's going to be looking for blood. I know, like they know him, and they're familiar with what he does, but he's so damn good. Like, he's going to rip it up, and he'll be in the backfield all night. I have no doubt. He's got something special coming in that.
We've got a broken Cowboys fan that agrees with you. Retro Game Grub and Cowboys says Parsons will have 10+ sacks this next game. He might break a record and Dak. We suck. I don't know if you're trolling or if you're real, but I mean, y'all just got worked by a bad Bears team. So you're probably serious. I'm sorry, man. It's I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Here, hey, excellent. There we go. We can oblige you, sir or madam. Do us a favor and make Jerry cry. We want a new owner. You need a new owner. Cowboys fans, stop giving Jerry your money. For crying out loud. If you would stop giving him your money, you would have a new owner. You can't keep giving him your money and making the Cowboys the most valuable sports franchise in the world for being mediocre over 10 years. Like, statistically mediocre. Like, you can't do that, man. You guys haven't been a championship in 30 years. Stop giving that man your money. So I'll say this. Here's the difference. You could go to Green Bay, go to Lambeau Field, go to a game, and you're going to pay like $40 or $50 to park like right next to Lambeau. You're going to go into a yard. You're going to be directed in like a Tetris master. They're going to get your car in there nice and snug. You're going to come out of that yard with a free beer and a free brat because there's more than one tailgate there, and they're all going to offer you something. And before you even get to Lambeau, you're set. $50, okay, to park at Jerry World, just to park, it's probably going to cost you $200. And there's no free stuff coming out of that parking lot. Now, I will say, there's some folks that I hear are doing a fantastic tailgate this weekend. I will report back. We're going to go tailgate. It'll be fun. Not going into the game because I'm not giving Jerry my money. That's what you guys got to do. Stop giving that man your money. But anyway, yes, I'm very, very excited about this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, the Packers play well in Jerry World. We've seen this. We know this. And it's not that you can hang your hat on that, but we as fans can get excited about it. Now, the Packers, they all need to adopt Micah's mentality this week. Like, they need to channel Micah. Everybody adopt the chip that he has on his shoulder and walk into that stadium like it is personal. Like Jerry was trying to take that money out of your bank account. Go get that man. Embarrass him in front of his hometown. Embarrass him in his own little throne. That's what I'm rooting for sure. Very excited about this.
I fully expect them to have a good game, and I think the defense is going to play really well again, just like they have the first 2 games. Like, Dak he's going to go out there and sling it. Like, the guy throws it against anybody. He doesn't hold back. I give him credit for that. But he's going to be real shorthanded. They're down 2 starters on the offensive line, and CeeDee Lamb's not playing, and that is huge. in this game. So
That's a big deal.
George Pickens, they got Tolbert, like those guys aren't good enough. And their backs are just okay. I think it's a big game for the Packers defense again. To me, the questions come down to, can their offensive line hold up? Because if they can, there's some big plays coming, because the Cowboy defense has given up a ton of big plays through the first 3 games this season, especially the last 2 weeks to the Giants and Bears, 2 teams that aren't that good offensively. They've been giving up a ton of big plays. They got injuries at quarterback. I think this is the week. If they can give Jordan Love time, they're going to throw a lot of passes down the field. Maybe it's, they finally connect on, they connected on the deep one to Golden against the Browns, but maybe he stays in bounds on this one and they hit a couple. But this could be the week they get the offense going a little bit. I don't think they're going to get it firing all cylinders just because of all the injuries they have and the movement on the offensive line. But they have a really favorable matchup against the Cowboys, especially against the Cowboys secondary. So it's going to come down to, can they pass protect? And there's no Myles Garrett. But I'm less concerned about that and more concerned about just how the Packers hold up front now after what we just saw in Cleveland. So they can do that. I think they got some big plays coming to them, and then their defense is going to be really good. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the basket.
So what's the recipe for victory then, man?
It's pass rush. It's hopefully get some turnovers from the pass rush, and then it's the offensive line's got to be good. And from there, I think if they're good, they have some nice matchups down the field, and I think you can hit some bombs down the field. Maybe softens it up, and they can finally get a running game going. But I don't think this is going to be a game where they put up like 40 points or anything like that, because I don't think they have enough weapons right now, and I think they're so out of sync offensively. But if they can get good offensive line play, they'll be able to move the ball consistently, and then I think their defense is going to keep doing what it's been doing and just getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that the game has to go through the defense. You have to make Dak uncomfortable. You have to just keep them off schedule all game, because they can make plays. Again, CeeDee Lamb, it doesn't look like he'll play. Pickens can make plays. Ferguson can make plays. Ferguson can be a pain in the butt where he can find those soft zones and get those first downs that just sort of break the back of a defense. So, yeah, I mean, their offense can play. You got to keep them off schedule and off balance, which obviously the Packers have every ability to do. And I think that'll be the mission of Micah Parsons for sure. But yeah, I don't look at this and go, all right, like we don't have the guys to cover their guys. No, I think you got the guys to cover. I think you got the defense can hold up their end of the deal. The pass rush will get after them. The linebackers will be fine. I think that this will be a tough game for the Cowboys to score. I think they will score, but I think it'll be a tough game for them to score points. I won't give the Packers offense a great vote of confidence that they'll just come in and roll like they did in the 23 playoffs. Whatever's going on right now, and I do think it has a lot to do with play calling, they need to figure it out. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they do this week. Hopefully I'm right when they were just looking forward to Dallas and they were reserving everything against the Browns, thinking that they could get away with that, and they were wrong. Because then that means that they do have a good plan for Dallas. But we'll see. That's why they play the game. I think what the Packers have to do to beat Dallas's defense, I mean, you've got to establish the running game. If you can establish the running game against this Dallas defense early, you can do whatever you want. They're going to have to overcompensate for that. You're going to be able to pop them over the top. And that's where I think, even with Trayvon Diggs, I don't know how fast he is. I know he's a good corner, but
he gambles a lot. He makes some big plays, but he gives up a lot.
He does. And he got kind of banged up a little bit this last
he's banged up. The other Deron Bland banged up as well.
Yeah, so they're not at full health in this one. And that's where I think that the Packers they have the weapons to exploit the Cowboys defense. I thought they had the weapons to exploit the Browns defense. It's good defense, no doubt about it. But on this one, yeah, I think if you can establish the run early on, force them to respect that, you'll be able to hit them over the top with Golden and finally get him the kind of breakout game you're hoping to see with him. But even without it just being that simple, I think you just have an athletic advantage, right? Like I just, they're not bad at linebacker. They're not great. They're not bad at safety. They're not great. They're just kind of banged up. So it's like, if you can get these guys on their heels with some of the jet motions, keep them guessing at who's getting the ball and where it's going, that alone, you're going to be able to create separation with these guys, I think. And that's where, if they play well, it could get ugly. If LaFleur comes in and actually plays a good or calls a good game, yeah, I think this has the potential to get ugly. But I'm not going to call it like I have. I've been pretty confident the first 3 weeks, and Packers by 90 and all that. I think this one, it really does depend on that run game. If they don't get the run established, what I think you could end up seeing is them making this Cowboys defense look better than they are. And you could get LaFleur in one of those situations where he just keeps wanting to do this hero ball thing instead of actually developing concepts and drives. That's my fear. Like, and I think if we're going to look at this kind of like we looked at it last week, like how do you beat the Packers if you're the Cowboys? This Cowboys defense, again, they kind of have to, I think they have to confuse Jordan Love. Like, you've got to try to do some disguised coverages and pressures, but you've got to make things or decisions as tough to make as you can for him. I just don't know how well they can do that. You know what I mean? I don't know who that guy's going to be that's going to disrupt you and kind of be the catalyst of that, where it's just pretty easy for the Browns. It's like, well, you got Myles Garrett and the other guys ain't so bad either. But with the Cowboys, man, like it feels like it's going to go one way or the other. Like, you're going to make them look better than they are, or you're going to probably have a day. So I don't know. It all goes for the run game, or through the run game for me, though. So all right, let's get some score predictions here. Hopefully you guys are still hanging with us in the chat. You guys give us some score predictions. Who's going to win? Throw a score in there. Let's see here. Tim, have we been keeping track of our records? Do we know
I think we both pick the Packers every week, so we're 2-1.
Okay. All right, so we're 2-1.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, easy enough. All right, well, I'll jump out in this one. I'm very excited to see Micah wreck the Cowboys offense. I do think it will be tough for them to score, but they have some good players. I think they'll be able to score. So I think the Cowboys will probably they'll hold them under 20. You can probably get about I'll give them 17. You might score 17. The Packers should score at least 30. I don't know that they will, so I'll give them 27. I'm going to call this one 27-17.
Yeah, I'm going to go close to that. I'm going to go 24-14 Packers.
Okay, yeah, 24-14. All right. Yep. Okay. Kickers are a little bit more involved in my game than yours. That's fair. No, I want to be confident, and again, I do see a scenario where this gets ugly for the Cowboys. But when you've got these emotional situations like this, you never know how it's going to end up, and how emotional are the Cowboys going to be facing Micah Parsons? How personal is it for some of those players? I don't know. But
I think if the Packers are at full strength offensively, or at least close to it, especially in the offensive line, I think they'd be able to win pretty comfortably. But it's the injuries at offensive line and receiver that are kind of holding me back from seeing that. And I think it's going to still be a struggle to get drives together and score points in this game. But if they're at full health, I think they've blown that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And all right, so there's a couple scores coming in through the chat, and I gotta give some due to somebody who has been fire in the comments tonight. And I'm just trying to get a little bit. Oh, here we go. Here's the one that I want to use. All right, Chris the Casual in. Good to see you, sir. I'm glad you're with us. He says MLF should be held accountable for retaining Big Richie Boy, and I think that is the point I was trying to make throughout this. And you were with me, Chris. I saw you. It was just very hard to deviate and bring your comment in, but we got this, man. And he's you've had a lot of good stuff coming in, but we agree on a lot, man. Hopefully Rich Bisaccia turns it around, That's kind of, I feel like that's saying hopefully Joe Barry turns it around.
Yeah.
Hopefully at the end of this year, Rich Bisaccia wasn't the reason that they got booted from the playoffs. And maybe it's just a little harder to move along from him. You know, you're like, well, you didn't give us like a direct reason. Because I really don't want that. I don't want him to give us a reason to be like, hey, dude, you're out. Because that's not good. That means we probably lost a playoff game you shouldn't have lost. But anyway.
Think about it. Come on.
We got another score prediction here. Our buddy Matthew Tan says Packers 27, Cowgirls 20. He's giving up 20. He thinks the defense can give up 20 here. All right, fair enough, man. Fair enough. I see you, Matthew. All right, what others we got? I know I saw some others. Our Showers in here with us. Good to see you, Our Showers. Got 24-16. Packers win in a bounce back game. LVN will be the one to go off, and we win the turnover battle. Ooh, I love those predictions. I do love those. I hope that's how it goes.
LVN's been pretty damn good this year.
I want to see more LVN. I want to see more turnovers. So, Our Showers, you are right. Let you be correct, sir. And then we got our score prediction from Chris Casual in. He's given us 28-14 Pack. All right, we're all kind of in the same neighborhood. Maybe like a 10-ish point win, two possession win maybe. And nobody's picking against the Pack. Not even our lone Cowboys fan. Appreciate you for joining us tonight. Retro Game Grub and Cowboys. The last comment there. The Browns are a good D. Don't shortchange yourself. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's right. They are a good D. They are, and the Packers fans should not shortchange that performance. Because, again, I think we get to the end of the season, you look at how good the Browns' defense is, you know, it kind of makes sense that they struggled in that game. That's fine. That's at least how I feel about it. But, all right. Did I miss any score prediction? I don't think I missed any score predictions. I think we got this. Appreciate you guys for getting those in. And, here we go. We got one coming in at the finish line here. Samurai Beast Warrior says Packers 50, Cowgirls 0. I don't know if that's like a jaded Cowboys fan. That might be a jaded Cowboys fan. But definitely love that prediction. We get 50-0, man. We're having some fun on this podcast next week, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right. No, appreciate y'all. This is a long one. We went a little long, but we had a lot to get out, right? There was some frustration we needed to get out of here. And after a disappointing loss, I think we did that, you know? So I appreciate you guys doing that with us and joining us for this. It's good. It's like, I don't want to say it's therapy, because there is another podcast related to that we also appreciate, but it is therapy. It's a very specific kind of therapy. But anyway, appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun. If y'all had fun with us tonight, spike that like button real quick. And definitely, if you really love the Pack Weekly Pod, tell a friend. They're Packers fans. Tell them to come hang out. We'll talk some smack. The Cowgirls are going to lose this week. Jerry's going to cry. I don't even know. I feel almost bad picking on an old man like that. But anyway, it's going to be fun to watch them lose. It is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it next week, Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time, streaming live on the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Go subscribe and hit that little bell next to it for us, too, for those bonus points so you're notified when we're streaming. And come hang out with all these cool cats in the comments that get after it. Y'all got some knowledge in the comments. I appreciate you guys. You're bringing it every week. And most important, enjoy this game against the Cowboys this weekend, and go Pack, go.